19 feet long, 4,500 pounds, wood grain panels from fender to tailgate. In 1968, Chrysler didn't build a station wagon. They built the car that told your neighborhood you'd arrived. The Town & Country was prestige, not transportation. Today, collectors pay over $100,000 for one, because 1968 was the last year Detroit could perfect a wagon like this before everything changed. A Town & Country wagon didn't just fill a driveway, it dominated it. At over 19 feet from bumper to tailgate with a 122-inch wheelbase and a stance nearly as wide as a city sidewalk, this was a car built to be noticed. The length alone rivaled many full-size pickup trucks of the time, yet every inch felt intentional. Elwood Engel, Chrysler's chief stylist, pressed for proportions that would set the Town & Country apart from the sea of sedans and lesser wagons. His design memos called for a roofline that seemed to float above the horizon, a subtle rake that gave the wagon a sense of motion even at rest, and a profile that stretched out with quiet authority. But it was the wood grain, those sweeping fender-to-tailgate panels that truly set the Town & Country apart. Chrysler turned to 3M's Denock vinyl, a material chosen not just for its convincing look, but for its practicality. Real mahogany would have been heavy and expensive, so the die-knock treatment delivered the luxury effect without the headaches of maintenance or cost. Each sheet of vinyl was heat-cured onto the steel, wrapping the wagon in a coach-built aura that echoed the great family estates of an earlier age. The result was a car that looked expensive even when parked on a quiet cul-de-sac. Chrome accents and restrained badging completed the effect, never flashy, always dignified. In an era when neighbors measured success by what sat in the driveway, the Town & Country made its statement with sheer presence. It was more than a car, it was a symbol, promising comfort and status in equal measure and signaling that this was a family that had arrived. Beneath the long wood grain bodywork, the Town & Country carried an engine lineup that defined confidence on the open road. Chrysler offered two V8 engines, each with its own personality. The standard 383 cubic inch engine delivered 265 horsepower, a figure that, even by today's standards, meant effortless acceleration. For families who wanted a little more, the optional 440 brought 350 horsepower and a surge of torque that could move nearly 2.5 tons of wagon with quiet authority. Period tests clocked the Town & Country equipped with the 440 at just under 10 seconds, from 0 to 60. But the numbers only tell part of the story. What truly set this wagon apart wasn't raw speed. It was the feeling of strength held in reserve, always ready but never shouting for attention. Chrysler's Torque Flight, 3-speed automatic, famous for its buttery shifts, made every start and stop seamless. Reviewers in 1968 praised the way the big wagon glided up to highway speeds, the engine barely raising its voice, the transmission slipping from gear to gear so smoothly that passengers often missed the change entirely. This combination of power and refinement turned every trip into a calm, predictable journey. The Town & Country didn't lurch or strain even when fully loaded for a summer vacation. Instead, it delivered a sense of serenity that families could count on, mile after mile. In an era when many cars demanded attention and effort from the driver, Chrysler's wagon chose to impress with its quiet strength. The real luxury was never having to think about what was under the hood. The car simply did its job so the family could enjoy the ride. Inside the 1968 Town & Country, the line between car and home began to blur. Chrysler's engineers knew that families needed more than just seats. They needed a space to live, to stretch out, to make memories on the move. The wagon's 3 rows could welcome up to 9 people, with deep cushioned benches and enough legroom for a backyard picnic. The rear-facing 3rd row became a rite of passage for kids, a place to wave at the cars behind or share whispered secrets, while parents up front enjoyed a dashboard trimmed with wood accents and controls that felt almost luxurious. Options like power windows, air conditioning, and a power tailgate weren't just for show, they made everyday life easier. On summer road trips, the air stayed cool and steady, even as the sun beat down through acres of glass. The cabin, measured at just 68 decibels at highway speed, was quieter than many living rooms. Conversation flowed easily, and the only soundtrack was the gentle hum of the V8 and the occasional giggle from the back. When it was time to haul groceries, camping gear, or the family dog, the fold-down rear seats revealed a cavernous cargo area, nearly 200 cubic feet. That kind of space meant no one had to leave anything behind, and every journey could become an adventure. Jerry Miller, who still owns his family's Town and Country, remembers, "We'd pile in for Sunday drives, 9 of us, with sandwiches and lemonade. It was more than a car, it was our second home." For many, the wagon wasn't just transportation, it was the backdrop to 1,000 small rituals, a place where family life unfolded mile after mile. By the early 70s, the American full-size station wagon found itself at a crossroads. The Town and Country had reigned as a symbol of suburban prosperity, but the world outside was changing fast. In 1970, new emissions laws arrived, quietly tightening the screws on the big V8 engines that made these wagons so effortless. By 1973, the Arab oil embargo hit, and the price of gasoline at the pump shot up to 57 cents a gallon, almost double what it had been just 2 years before. Suddenly, the very qualities that made the Town and Country so desirable, its size, its power, its presence, became liabilities. Sales numbers tell the story with brutal clarity. In 1972, Chrysler moved nearly 150,000 Town and Country wagons. By 1975, that number had dropped to around 70,000. Families who once measured success by the length of their driveway now faced fuel rationing, long lines at the gas station, and the reality that a big block V8 engine could drain a tank in a single weekend of errands. Insurance companies began to penalize large engines, and government regulations chipped away at horsepower, leaving the once mighty 440 feeling tame and subdued. Detroit's answer was downsizing. Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors all trimmed wheelbases, cut curb weights, and shifted focus to smaller, more efficient models. The Town and Country was no longer the obvious choice for a family with places to go and things to haul. Instead, buyers looked to compact wagons, hatchbacks, and eventually the minivan. The era of the prestige wagon had passed almost as quickly as it arrived, leaving the 1968 formula frozen in time. A brief, shining moment when bigger truly was better and no one worried about the price at the pump. At a Mecum auction in 2023, the hammer fell at $115,000 for a 1968 Chrysler Town and Country, fully restored and sporting its original factory-installed 440 V8. That figure turned heads, not just because it dwarfed the price of most classic wagons, but because it validated what longtime fans already knew. Nostalgia has real, measurable value. Auction catalogs now list Town and Countries with matching numbers engines at a 30% premium over similar wagons with swapped motors. The paperwork matters. Original window stickers, dealer invoices, and even faded warranty cards all add weight to the story and the price tag. Restoration shops confirm that keeping the original Dinock woodgrain and factory paint can mean tens of thousands of dollars at sale. For collectors, authenticity is not just a buzzword, it is the difference between a nice old wagon and a true piece of American history. The Town and Country has never really left the American imagination. Even decades later, its silhouette still pops up in unexpected places, like the 1998 episode of The Simpsons, where Homer's wagon, wood grain and all, keeps the kids from fighting over the back seat. That joke lands because so many still remember the feel of those long summer drives, the hum of the V8, the way the world looked out the back window. Restorers talk about these cars with a kind of reverence, insisting on original Dinock vinyl and factory paint, chasing not just value but authenticity, a chance to bring back a piece of their own childhoods. For many, the Town and Country is more than a collectible. It is a rolling memory, a symbol of a time when the family car was the heart of the household and the open road still felt full of promise. Today, the surviving town and country wagons turn heads not for their speed, but for what they represent. The golden age of American comfort and togetherness. In a world chasing efficiency, their quiet confidence reminds us. Sometimes the things that last longest are the ones built for family. Share your memories below.